What do you get when you combine simplified practice marketing, proven ROI strategy, and Van skate shoes? You get Mark Thackeray, of course. So lace up, grab your green smoothie, and get ready, because this is Dental Marketing Secrets. And this is Mark.
All right, my friends. Welcome back. Another episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets podcast. Here we go. As you know, our whole goal is to provide you and your team with tactics and tips, things that you can take and apply to grow your practice so that you can serve more patients and ultimately leave a greater impact on the community, on your family, on society at large, because that's what it's all about. You know, that's the only thing we can leave behind. And my name is Mark Thackeray. Always a pleasure to be here with you. And today is Inauguration Day, which is super cool to be a part of that, no matter which side you fall on, to live in a country like we do and have the opportunities like we do to vote and to voice our opinions, differences of opinions. We live in the greatest country in the world, you know, and I'm just going to say that outright because I really believe that. I know America has some faults and some weaknesses and some warts, but give that said, it is still the greatest country in the world. And I love it. I really do. Today, we have an awesome podcast for you. And I've talked with Devin Schumacher, is the co-founder of SERP Dental. He's just a great marketing mind. You know, he's lots of experience, over 7 years of experience in dental specific marketing, growing his own agency and really helping transform practices through marketing. And we talk about a number of things, including how do you win in 2021? You know, what is it going to look like in the future? What are some quick wins that you can do right now to improve your growth, your practice growth? We get into Disney. Actually, you're going to love that conversation towards the end. And there's a couple of quotes I wanted to share right off the bat that you're going to hear that I just think are so important. Devin said, if you can't sell, you can't serve. And that is such an important thing to remember as you might be hesitant to market or ask for referrals. But if you can't sell, meaning if you can't help people understand the value that you're providing them and get them and really encourage and compel and persuade them to come into your practice to receive treatment, then you can't serve them. Okay? They go hand in hand. You have to be able to attract and draw them in and so that you can then serve them and really benefit their lives. Okay. So there's one, and now I'm just going to leave it at that. But let me tell you a little bit more about Devin. So Devin Schumacher is as I mentioned, he's one of the founders of SERP Dental. He's also the CEO. And now SERP Dental is a company that helps dentists and their practices really increase profitability. They focus on operational efficiency and reducing chaos. SERP Dental helps dentists grow through a combination of their trademarked partnership marketing system and dental business coaching. They take a holistic approach to aligning their goals with the goals of the practice owner to accelerate results and maximize success. SERP Dental runs the digital marketing for the practice while working closely with the dentist and their team to implement proven dental growth frameworks into their business. These frameworks, combined with coaching from their 7-figure dental consultants, allow practices to see extremely fast results. Their clients see huge improvements in growth, operations, and profitability at every level, from case acceptance to time freedom. SERP Dental's mission is to help dentists grow their practices and have a larger impact on the communities they serve. Sounds an awful lot like our mission, and that's why it was such a great episode, such a great conversation, and you're just going to love it. So without further ado, here's my interview with Devin Schumacher. All right, you guys, welcome back. We've got Devin Schumacher with us here. Devin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mark. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So excited to have you on here. Got a hefty list of questions to walk through with you. But why don't you take a minute and just give us a little bit about your background so people know kind of the experience that you bring to the table and what you guys do over at SERP Dental.
Yeah, absolutely. My story is kind of interesting, I think, and I'll try and keep it as truncated as possible. But I'm from Los Angeles, and I went to college at the University of Colorado Boulder, and I graduated in 2009 with a finance degree. I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. I just knew that one of my personal whys, I guess, in life was that I wanted to have freedom. And for me, that starts with financial freedom, being able to wake up in the morning and do something meaningful,
Right.
but not have to worry about what's it going to cost or who do I have to get permission from and whatnot. So I didn't exactly know how I was going to do that. But, so I got a degree in business and finance. My mom's a doctor, and I thought about going the doctor route. I actually thought about going the dentist route, but I ended up on finance, and I graduated in 2009, which was the height of, the meltdown. So
Right.
there wasn't very many jobs, and I eventually ended up coming back home and moving in with my parents and just saying, you know what, I'm going to go work at a bank. And even with a degree in finance, I still had to leverage my dad's 40 years in banking to get a job in a retail bank on a bank floor.
Oh man.
Basically, one of those guys that when you walk in and you into a bank to deposit a check or whatever, they're there. So I was, from an educational point of view, I was highly overqualified, and I learned quickly for working there for 3 years that it was not something I wanted to do, and it wasn't the way to get the freedom that I needed. So I ventured off from there and started some entrepreneurial ventures, a food supplement e-commerce company, some apps, and a variety of other things, even some DJing. And every product that we had, every brand that we built was great. It was an amazing product. The teams were good, and they never took off. And the reason they never took off is because they lacked marketing. And so what I found, though, when I was DJing is that I started to have to spend so much of my time figuring out marketing, and I was getting pretty good at it that other people started asking me, can you help me with your marketing, et cetera. And next thing I knew, I was spending all my time doing marketing. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to go all in on this, and I'm going to learn how to do marketing because I'm spending all my time on it anyways. And so I met my current business partner, Sage, and he said, I met him online in one of these marketing groups, and he said, hey man, like, I know you do marketing for, local service providers. My brother-in-law actually owns a dental SEO company, and he's looking to sell it and move to Guatemala and change his lifestyle. What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, you know what? If there's one thing I've learned, it's that being a business professional and having success in business do not correlate. You need marketing. So we have a moral obligation to buy this book of business and provide awesome dental marketing services for these dentists that are just going to be, sold off to the next bidder. And you and I both know, and I'm sure a lot of the people who listen to this podcast know, that it's a huge crapshoot when you're choosing a marketing company. There are a lot of people out there that, just really aren't going to be able to provide what they promise or what they want to provide. So we kind of take it on as a moral obligation, and we just went full force, all in, developed SERP Dental. And now we have a pretty large team that is focused solely on the dental industry.
And I love what you said there, Devin. You used the term moral obligation, and so I want to actually have you describe that a little bit more. So when you use that term, what do you mean by that? Because I think some people are like, well, what do you mean? Like, do I have to force this on someone? Like, I'm obligated to pressure someone into this, or what? Can you define that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I think in the medical world, a prescription without a diagnosis is malpractice, right? But and dentists, doctors, my mom was a doctor. They take the Hippocratic Oath, and it's to do no harm, right? And we even see in movies, and we see in real life and documentaries, maybe some extreme examples, but when doctors are in other countries and they take hostages of terrorists or whomever, like, they still have that obligation to keep them safe and to give them medical treatment if they need it, right? So I grew up, so to speak, in probably what's considered the sketchiest or the shadiest part of internet marketing, which is SEO. That's really where I was born and bred. And there are so many SEO companies out there that are either just, a lot of them just resell other SEO services, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but there is a lack of accountability there a little bit. But there's just a lot of people out there that don't know what they're doing. There's a lot of, your basement gurus or your mom's basement gurus. And, I started as one of those. Like I said, I moved back into my parents' house to figure out my stuff and started learning marketing. But what I came across was that I want to kind of change the game, and I don't want to be one of those people. They don't all have poor integrity, but I just knew that we spent so much time honing our craft and I had seen firsthand from my experiences how many people just don't really have their shit together when it comes to SEO and marketing.
Right.
That's kind of why we got into business, and that's why I made the change from being an entrepreneur in e-commerce or an entrepreneur as a music producer to doing marketing. So when I saw that opportunity, I said, you know what, like, it's just going to have to happen. And we actually had to pay to get those clients. So that's how seriously we take it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've used that term before. I first heard about it from Jay Abraham. I don't know if you know who Jay is, but he's a big, marketing kind of thought leader. He's a little older now, and it's a great way for me, in my perspective. I think it's a great way to look at things. When you have that experience, when you recognize, if you're a dentist, if you're a doctor, you recognize the potential risks that a patient may go through, or may suffer if they don't accept treatment. It's your obligation to help educate them on what that looks like. You can take this and this is what's likely going to happen, or you can avoid this or not, or forfeit this. And this is what's likely going to happen. You have that vision, so to speak. You're the guide on the top of the mountain looking down and saying, hey, there's a left turn you're going to want to take right there to avoid that massive 10,000 foot drop. You're trying to watch out for the patient. And in our case, when you're doing marketing, the same thing applies. Once you recognize, like you were saying, Devin, you've worked so hard and invested so much time in understanding SEO, it then becomes your obligation to educate people and help them see their blind spots and what's really at stake.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this too. Let's what do you see, with everything that's going on right now? We're still mid-pandemic. Yes, there's a vaccine out. Who knows if that's going to change the way that we operate, and it's definitely not going to change things overnight. So looking ahead at 2021, what would you say, based on your experience, Devin, with your clients, what's happened in 2020, and just your kind of your pulse on the market? What would you say is going to be the number one way for dentists to win in 2021?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would say is that, take a deep breath. The sky is not falling. And in my industry, pretty much every 6 months or so, people will say things like SEO is dead or these things are happening.
Right.
I've been watching a lot of shows recently from Boardwalk Empire, like the 1800s all the way through, speeches through the civil rights movement. And I just notice a common thread, and it's always that people are saying times are tougher now more than ever. Times are tougher now more than ever. Well, you know what? Like, through that, we persist, and we do that by focusing on controlling the things that we can control.
Right.
So the number one thing I would say, if you're, worried about the pandemic situation, is, worry about it intelligently and for a certain amount of time, like maybe an hour, only to plan and be responsible about what your next moves are. And then just, kind of pick yourself up and get over it, because there's a lot of people that are winning. And in fact, as the new year turned, I started speaking with a lot of business owners and peers and friends, and pretty much everybody I talked to was winning. And a lot of our clients were winning, and we've generated more revenue for our clients this year than ever before, or this past year than ever before. And it's, the way we do it is that, understanding where you're at, whether you're a single practice owner and it's really just you and maybe one other person, or you have a few practices, or whatever it is your mix is, understanding where you're at and where you're trying to go is going to be your baseline, right?
Right.
And then once you have that, you're going to know what you need to do, and you can really reverse engineer exactly how you want to get to your goals, simply by understanding, all right, if I want to get to this revenue level, how many of X or Y or Z types of cases do I need to close? And you can reverse engineer your way back to that and then take a look at your situation. And what I see more commonly than not is that people have the revenue goal, but they don't have a predictable way of getting there. And a lot of dentists rely on referrals or networking, and those are great. They are extremely high intent buyers. They're usually very qualified. They're usually easy to deal with. But you can't wake up tomorrow morning and say, next month I'm going to get 35 referrals.
Yes.
It's not really in your control. So understanding where you're at and where you want to go will tell you a bit about what your strategies should be. And for the most part, what we say is you need a system to predictably acquire patients profitably.
Right.
And if you don't have a system where you can predictably acquire patients profitably, you really don't have a business.
Mm-hmm. That's such a good point that a lot of people don't realize is, and you brought it up, you just explained it so well with respect to referrals. And I mean, that's such a passive approach. You know, you have no control. I shouldn't say that. You do have control. There's ways that you can stimulate referrals, but ultimately it's something that that's going to come in waves and things like that. You're not going to be able to bank on that month to month. But like you're saying, once you have a system, I mean, you let the system do the heavy lifting, and that's what's going to keep. It's always working. And I'm guessing this is where you're going with it, but it's the way I see it, Devin. It's always working for you, to qualify people, to educate them, to really identify those people for whom you're the best fit. Is that kind of how you see it? Or why don't you explain what you mean by system?
Yeah. So in business, I guess maybe in life in general, there's always a trade-off of time versus money, right? And everybody kind of knows that. It's good to be reminded about it, though. It's time versus money. So if you're just getting started or you don't have a lot of money, that's okay. There are things you can do to put in your time to start getting new patients. And that is things like, lunch and learns, networking events, calling everybody that sort of just pounding the pavement and trying to drum up referrals, right? And once you start to get some of that business going, then you have a little bit of money. And that's when you need to start trading a little bit of that time and a little bit of that money and starting to spend that money to build this patient acquisition system. And the way that you do that is you first have to understand who it is that you want to serve, right? Go through the exercises of doing marketing foundations, of identifying your customer avatar, understanding everything you can about them. And there's various, tactics to doing that, but you need to understand who they are, what's it like a day in their life, what are their pains, what keeps them up at night,
right?
And how can you provide something that's going to help them reach their overall dream goal. And that becomes your offer. And what you do is you use paid traffic. You go out to these places where everybody is congregating that you want to serve, and you put your message in front of them. And the way I kind of describe it is, I'll ask you a question. Let's say that you're a dentist and you live in a city of 100,000 people, and maybe there's various suburbs around you with another 200,000 people, right? That's 300,000 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So out of that 300,000 people, how many of those people actually need dentistry?
Well, all of them need it.
All of them need it. 100% of the people that are around your practice need dentistry. So when you know that, what you really have to do is just figure out a way to reach them. And within any market, you're going to have 4 segments of people. 3% of the market is going to be in buy now mode, meaning that you put your offer in front of them, and as long as it's a good offer, they're pretty much going to buy it. So what most people do when they go into, I've tried Facebook ads or I've tried Google ads or whatever. First of all, you don't have a problem getting traffic because Google and Facebook are like gigantic traffic supermarkets. You can just go there and buy the traffic, right?
That's what they do. Yep.
And so they put an offer out, $49 new patient special, come and get it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The times that it works is because you probably don't have too many other people in your area doing that. So you scoop up to 3% and then your campaign might dry out. But what you're neglecting is 97% of the rest of that population. So what you can do is just understand where they're at. After the 3% of people that are in buy mode, you have the next segment, which is 17% of people who are in information gathering mode. And these people they understand their problem. They're problem aware and they're looking to solve their problem, but they're not quite ready to buy yet.
Right.
So what you can do is you can put out information to them, right? They're in information gathering mode. And if you are the person that is supplying that information, when they are ready to transition into buy mode, who are they going to go to? The person who's giving them the information.
Right.
And then it goes down the line. The next 20% are problem aware, but they're not gathering information. So the 20% that are problem aware, but not gathering information, you kind of just have to stoke the fire a little bit and hit on those pain points that you identified during your customer research and push them into information gathering mode, which you already have information for. And you begin to unlock these different levels. And next thing you know, you can now communicate to all of those 300,000 people around your practice, or even if it's 25,000 people because you're in a small town, doesn't matter. You're unlocking larger segments of the population. And the way that you make that profitable is that you have a system that takes care of the entire process. So you have your ads, which get their attention, and you have your traffic supermarkets where you can go purchase that attention from. But the next things that happen is you need to educate the consumer, communicate with them, nurture them, schedule their appointments, conduct your consultations, qualify the buyers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So having a system for each one of those things and helping to automate the process, you really will never have to have a marketing budget because you'll be able to acquire patients profitably, and you'll be able to acquire a lot of them because you have something for each person.
Yeah, and it's self-funding, I mean, when you do it right, you're paying with it, with all the patients that you're generating, you're allocating some of that back into the system to then scale and grow. And what I love about that too, Devin, is you're really maximizing your investment. I mean, instead of just focusing on that 3%, that tiny fraction that's ready to buy now, you're now gathering information and data that allows you to continually reach up to the 97%, to help them along in that journey that they're going through wherever they are, and yes, it takes a little bit of time to set up and takes time to message, set up the messaging correctly so that it's speaking to where they are at in that journey. But yeah, when you have that going, I mean, that's how we really scale a business, is predictably and profitably, is by having that system that's constantly running in the background. I love that.
Right.
So let's talk about, so we talked about some of what's going to be the number one way to get a win 2021, but let's talk about the quickest way to get a win right now, or the quickest things that a dentist or practice could do to improve their growth right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say it depends on your setup, but definitely having paid advertising running is going to be the fastest way to generate new leads, right? So when you understand the flow that actually has to happen in order for you to have a patient, it's, I think about it, I've written it down before. It's something like 17 steps, and I briefly touched on it, but let me just kind of run through it. It's basically like you generate the traffic and you capture their awareness, right? They click your ad and you present them with some kind of offer. So depending on which segment they're in, if they're in the buy now segment, you can present them with, here's my offer. It's XYZ and they're going to buy. If it's in information gathering mode, you want to have some kind of resource that's going to answer their questions and educate them. You have to build trust. These people don't know you. So after you've done that, you want to have some kind of system to automatically communicate and follow up and nurture them. And if you have those things, like if you have a treatment coordinator that's good on the phone, who's great at follow up, if you have a practice management system or some kind of marketing automation that can schedule everybody in and do automatic appointment reminders and automatic appointment reschedules. And if you can conduct good consultations, and if you have good close rates, if you sell well, right, your case acceptance is high, then the fastest thing you can do is just put more traffic into the top. But normally what I see is that, most of the dentists we work with have tried marketing before. And so the traffic is not the problem. It's the other things that I just discussed that are the problems. So fixing probably one of those levers, or pulling one of those levers, so to speak, is probably going to be the fastest thing to get wins. But it depends on, it depends on you. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Which parts can you improve? But I think that if I had to give a general answer, the thing that is going to move the needle for everyone across the board is having a better understanding of your buyer and making your communication cater to their pains, problems, wants, and desires. What I see wrong every time with every dentist that I've ever worked with is their messaging does not speak enough to the customer. It does not speak enough to the buyer to make them want to take an action.
Yeah, that's a major, and it's a major problem, not only for the dental industry, but for businesses as a whole. It's too many of them will focus entirely on themselves, their qualifications, their services, their own product, even fall in love far too much with that than the other way around. It really should be focused squarely on the patient, and understanding what's in it for them and speaking directly to those benefits. So will you give us an example, Devin, of what you mean by that? Because I really want to drive home this point. It's so important.
Sure. So I think credentials and everything is important. We've been in business for 25 years. We use the best tools. We have hired the best whatever. And that works, when you have referrals and people that already know you. But the thing is, when you want to grow predictably, you need to get your message and your business out in front of people who don't know you, and you need to build trust. And the way that you do that, well, first of all, most of these people you're going to be using Facebook ads. Right. You can use Google search ads as well. But Google search ads, you don't unlock a big enough portion of the market to scale to what most people want to do, because, the people on Google are searching for something very specific, which is fine. Right. And they come to your website and they already know what they want, and that's cool, but there's only a finite amount of them, right? If we were in Los Angeles or Glendale, where my dentist is, and I search for dentist Glendale, I can see Google will tell me, there's 80 searches a month for this, right? Well, if there's 80 searches a month and you're going to get about 3% of the clicks and 20% of those people are going to opt in, and then maybe you close 20% of those, like that's 2 new patients a month or something, right? Like that's not enough.
Right.
So you're going to have to be probably advertising on Facebook. And what are people doing on Facebook?
They're just looking for entertainment mostly.
They're doing everything except trying to find new patient specials, right?
Yeah,
or
right.
$1,000 Invisalign. Like
they're killing time. They're trying to look at what their friends are doing or what their neighbor's doing. Yeah.
Your customer exactly like you, or when I say you, I mean the dentist, or even you or me. Your customer is doing the same thing on Facebook that you're doing. They're getting bombarded by a tectonic hailstorm of notifications and like text messages and like videos and trillions of dollars worth of technology that's designed to keep you entertained and distracted.
Right.
And they're getting hit with so many ad messages. And a lot of these ad messages say things like, buy our shit, or get $1,000 off our stuff, or we've been in business for how long, right? How are you going to get their attention? The only way you're going to get their attention is by speaking to their pains and needs. So let's just take a hypothetical example here. If you're a dentist and you're offering Invisalign, it's probably because you find value in helping to make people's smiles better, right? You want to help your community smile better. But why? Like, why would somebody want a better smile? Well, maybe they're a teenage girl who wants to become the next Hollywood actress, with the $1 million smile. Maybe that's her real dream. Or maybe it's the grandma who has dentures needs some teeth implants, or is uncomfortable now going to their family's holiday dinners. but they don't want to feel that way, right?
Right.
So you need to identify for each service that you're selling, who is it that you're talking to, and hit them with something that's so unignorable that they have to take the next action, right? You have to call out to them and say something along the lines of, here are all of your pain points and here are all the ways that we can solve it. Click below and like, let's take the next step. You have to be unignorable. And the best way you can do this is, like go to the grocery store and go to the checkout line and look at National Enquirer, or look at Cosmopolitan,
Yes.
or look at Men's Health, and look at those headlines there. They just make you want to read, and you have to take the next action.
So compelling.
So if you can take those structures, those formats of these headlines, and you can apply them to your customer and their actual desire, not I need to get a tooth replaced, but I want to be able to eat pain free.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to be able to, live longer and spend more time with my kids, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Like if you can hit on those things, that person is going to take the next action, which is to click.
That's so important. So important. We could do like a whole series of episodes just on this topic, because it is mission critical. If you're not capturing that attention, then you're completely ignored, like you said, and it doesn't matter how many people you're going out to, but I think I love what you said too. I mean, it sounds like you're saying, become a student of what catches people's interest, and so you look at the National Enquirer, you look at those headlines, you look at why they're still around, and why, when all the other printed publications have gone the way of the buffalo for the most part, they're still going strong. And you look at that the way that they hook people in by the words that they use, and then look at your own life. I do this with myself. I have my own swipe file, essentially, of things that have caught my attention that caused me to buy, or purchase something. And so I'll make a screenshot of that, or copy a headline or something like that, because you can duplicate these. It's such a great principle of improving yourself as a copywriter and getting your message right. But another great thing, and I'll ask you to this, Devin, but what any other ideas for coming up with content like that? I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is take their surface level desire, which is, oh, I want straight teeth, or something like that, or I want to fill this gap in my tooth, and asking questions that go beneath that. So you really get to the root cause of the issue. I'm just uncomfortable with how I look. I'm afraid to smile in public. I just, for whatever, and I've always been this way. It's been worked on me forever. What other ways can people, come up with ideas on how to find, I guess my question is, how can they learn more about what those patients really desire?
Yeah, so that's a good question. If you've been in practice for any amount of time, you're sitting on a treasure chest of this information, and you probably just haven't gone through the exercises. So you have your practice management system, you have notes about all your patients. The first thing I would do is I would take an inventory of what products I'm selling, right? Because what you're selling is a product, it's a commodity, it's not special, somebody can get it anywhere. It doesn't make a difference really to the consumer. And in general, it really doesn't. Everything is a commodity at this point. Even us, we're data at this, like companies are taking our data, we're a commodity. So meet with your team and go through your practice management system and have conversations about your patients, and ideally, your favorite patients, because you want to attract more of them, and start talking about what conversations have you had? What are the things that they've talked about, the real reasons why they're trying to get things solved, right? And start writing those down. You can also go out to Facebook groups or forums. Like, let's say that you want to sell more implants. You can go out to forums about dental implants, not on the dentist side, but on other people's side, and you can find out what people are saying. You
Right.
can go and you can look at your reviews and your negative reviews, and you can find out what people's complaints are. What are their fears? What are their hesitations keeping them from taking an action? And if you don't have reviews or negative reviews, go look at your competitors. Just start searching dentist plus city or dental implant provider plus city, and look at reviews and read them and see what people are saying. They're going to say oh, it was too expensive, or, oh, I had to pay too much cash up front, or, oh, that I'm too scared to go. It was painful. Like, start writing all of these things down and figure out a way to craft something that they can't ignore. And it really starts with your offer. Like, it doesn't chronologically start with your offer, but it's really about your offer, right? If you're selling $1,000 implants, $1,000 off implants, and someone else is selling $1,000 off implants, like, nothing makes you different. So you need to figure out how you can take your customer from whatever their actual pains, problems, and desires are and provide them that end result. So, like, one exercise we do is we think about our customer, and I'll say it from the marketing to dentist point of view for a second, because it's a little easier for me to do. But what we know that dentists want to grow their practice. At least that's what they come to us for, right? They come to us and say, I need SEO, or I want to grow, or whatever. Well, there's three things that every business needs, or every business has. They have the subject matter expert, which in this case is a medical expert. It's a dentist, right? They have that. They also have one aspect, which is the business. And the business is like the vehicle. If the dentist is like the driver, the business is like the car. And then they have marketing, which is like the fuel. And it's not going to work if you don't have any of the three pieces. And what you basically want to do is figure out how you can take these things and, well, for us, like what I was saying is, what for us is, we need to figure out how we can help dentists grow. So they come to us with marketing, and if we get them a whole bunch of traffic, but their business side is broken, maybe the front desk doesn't answer the phones, or they don't follow up enough, their practice management system is disorganized, whatever the case may be, they're not good at selling, like, our marketing isn't going to work. So we write these things down. We figure out the problems we've had with our clients, and we build that into our offer, because you can come to us and get SEO. You can go anywhere else and get SEO too. It's a commodity, just like dental implants, just like Invisalign. So what we figure out though is, how could we guarantee in a hypothetical dream world where unicorns are flying around, how can we guarantee that when a dentist comes to us, we're going to take them from whatever they're at, $500,000 a year in production, to $1.5 million, and then opening a second practice, and then being able to take 3-month vacations with their family? Like, how can we do that? How can we guarantee we're going to get them the growth? And we write all these things down. We write down, well, we could redo their whole website and structure it better for SEO and get them a bunch of traffic. And we could create their Facebook ads for them. We could follow up with their leads for them. When the leads are ready for their appointments, we could have like a virtual treatment coordinator call them and run the scripts that we know. We could go in and we could, redesign their office and we fly out there and take all new pictures of their stuff and run their, we think about all this stuff we could do to get them the success. And then you figure out what's realistic, what's not, and you package that together, and that becomes your offer. And that's how you differentiate yourself from your competitors. So if you're a dentist, you have to figure out, how do I take my dream customer from their problem state to their dream state? Well, like let's say they want a better smile. You could sell them Invisalign. You could go to their house every day and brush their teeth in the morning and at night and floss and whatever. Like, you could do these crazy things, and you're probably not going to, but it gets the juices flowing. And all of these things need to become your offer to differentiate yourself from your competitors, so that when somebody is in the market, when they're ready to buy, they have to buy from you, right? And that's just the concept of building an irresistible offer. And when you have that, you simply have to go and put out those headlines that we were talking about. Headlines that have intrigue, that touch on the benefits, that touch on their pain points, that speak directly to them, that give good guarantees, and that when they click there and they see your offer, they're like, whoa, like, there's no way I cannot respond to this. It's literally irresistible. I would be insane to not take them up on this.
Yeah, I love that. And I like how you put it too, Devin, where you're focused on what you can deliver on. You're kind of starting from that point where, okay, what results can I guarantee? And then you're building it around that. Look at what you can do for a patient, and you can do almost every time for a patient, that comes in. Well, I'm amazing at dental implants, or sticking with Invisalign, and especially with maybe more complex situations. Really identify where you really fit into the market and in terms of your position and what you can offer, and then build that in. And if you're lacking in areas, I thought that was a great exercise to do, because then you can identify, well, yeah, I'm really good about getting, in our case, traffic for these dentists. We're getting a lot of website traffic, but it's not converting at all. They're not getting any patients. So we can build in someone who follows up on these leads and nurtures them until they're ready to commit to coming in for an examination. And so look at what you can offer that patient and say, yeah, I can do this. I can check this box. I can do the actual implants. But what else are they really looking for? What will make that dream come true scenario? And then see if you can do it. See those things, like you said, that are realistic, but there's a number of things that you can do that are in your control that aren't going to cost a whole lot of money or time or resources to do, but will make a tremendous impact on your patients, on their experience, and on your offer.
Right. And many times the things that you want to be doing will end up making you a lot more money in the process, because there are additional services that you need to sell, but it'll also help you get those people the results that they want. And I know that like sales is kind of a touchy subject for a lot of dentists, kind of like it is for artists, right? They're there to provide their art, right? They're there for their passion. But if you can't sell, you can't serve. And if you're not serving, if you really believe that you can deliver the best dentistry for the people around you, and especially compared to the other competitors in your area, a common thing I hear a lot is, I've been a dentist for 25 years and like, I'm not showing up on the first page, and there's all these other dentists around here. And like, there's no way that they could, provide a better service than me. Right. Like if you can't sell, then you're doing a disservice. If you're not selling, you're doing a disservice to those people, because they're going essentially to somebody else who you have deemed as less qualified. And I think that the mistake that everybody makes is they start with their service. They say like, I'm an orthodontist, I want to sell this, or I want to sell implants. But you have to start with what the market wants and make your service that. And the market, like a lot of times they don't even really know what they want, and they're not going to tell you. Like if you ask somebody, if a dentist comes to me and we say, what do you want? And they say, well, we want to grow. Why do you want to grow? We want more money. It's like, okay, that's what you told me, but that's not the real reason, right? You want more money so you can do X, Y, Z. So digging deep, having these conversations and doing this research and understanding what do your patients actually want, and then building your service around that. It decommoditizes you. It makes it so you cannot be compared on price to anybody else, because it just doesn't make sense. It's not the same offering anymore.
Yeah, it's not an apples to apples comparison anymore. It becomes completely different. And that's a great way to look at it. I think, also just it makes it enjoyable. It's you're constantly innovating, and it really gives you a chance. And I say this with people a lot, but it gives you a chance to Disneyify your business. You look at what Disney has done for the experience that they deliver, and they've really taken it from just delivering theme park rides and concessions and things to world-class service, where they're doing things that you never would have thought possible. I had one of my clients was telling me once, she was down in Disney World, and someone, they have fireworks in the evening, right? And so they went out to watch the fireworks. She ended up watching them from behind a tree because of the crowd and whatnot, and just the layout of the property. The next day she gets approached and it's like, hey, I just wondering how your stay's been. And they got talking about it. She said, oh, we had a great time watching the fireworks last night. Well, except for the part where there was a tree in my way. But other than that, it was great, and then before she knew it, she goes back that night and the tree's gone. Like they removed the tree. It wasn't a big tree by any means, but they'd actually gone out of their way to fix that solution right then and there for her and her family. And, and that's the joy of doing these types of things and these exercises. You can look at it and say, how can I help this patient that we want to serve, get the best result possible? And I think what you said, Devin, and going through that exercise with your team and really looking at all the hopes that they have, all the dream state, as you call it, what are they really trying to get out of all of this? Not just this treatment, but what does their life look like because of this treatment, or could look like, and how can we contribute to that? That's a great way to start. Definitely a great way to start.
Yeah, and I like the Disney example actually because it's actually super relevant in that, like, there's a lot of people whose lives have been changed by Disney, right? They've made memories with their family and or they've been inspired or whatever. And like the only reason that's possible is because Disney continues to sell you more stuff than you originally signed up for, right? Like you wanted to go see you wanted to go see the movie Frozen or whatever, and you did, and you paid, $30 for that or something. And then your kids wanted to get the Frozen dolls, and you're like, maybe you grumbled about the price or whatever, but like you got them that for Christmas and they opened it up and they were almost crying and you made that memory. And then now Disney wants you to fly down to Orlando and like spend more money on this thing, right? But you're doing these things and you're creating these memories, and it's like people want that, right? Because they want to spend money on things that are the reason they exist. What is their why? So you got to figure out, like, what is my customer's why? And then how do I get them there? And the answer is always, you sell them more stuff, but they're happy to buy it because as long as as long as you're not peddling snake oil, you're delivering
right.
what you're supposed to be delivering, and you're getting them closer to their why. Like, I don't think that there's anything else on the planet that people want to spend money on more truly than things that are going to help bring them to their why.
Yeah. Oh, well said. I love that. And I'm going to steal that. But I love just how that ties everything in. Man, we could go on forever. And I had a couple other questions I was going to ask you, but I'm looking at the clock and I think we'll end it for here, but let's have you back and we can do a follow-up. But before I let you go, Devin, where can people, if they're interested in what you guys do over at SERP Dental, if they want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so serpdental.com, SERP dental.com. That's probably the best place to go. I'm pretty active on Instagram. You could follow me. I post some stuff there that's sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's just funny and entertaining. So I don't really post too much from the SERP Dental Instagram, but my personal Instagram is my name @Devin Schumacher, and just remove all the vowels or just type it in. You'll probably find me. I'd love to.
Okay, well, I'll link that up in the show notes. But I know you guys have quite a few resources online. I've watched a couple of videos, and yeah, tremendous. You guys do a tremendous work, and a great service really to the industry by providing all of this education and helping people understand the bigger picture when it comes to marketing your practice and the missing steps that a lot of people are, don't even realize they're there, but are truly a significant part of that customer journey or that patient journey. So yeah, great job. But yeah, thanks again for taking the time. We'll definitely have you back. And yeah, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Did you enjoy this episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets Podcast? Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. And for more proven marketing strategies to grow your practice, visit practicerocket.net.